That's fine.
Everybody got started time down maybe.
Maybe it'll be fine.
You guys can check out past stuff and you'll be able to find them pretty quickly. Let me disable my YouTube chat. That's the only thing I don't have access to. And then we'll hop into this. Good morning, everyone, or afternoon. I believe you're European time zone, so.
Yeah, it's
what time?
almost evening. It's 5 p.m. here.
Oh yeah, okay. So evening for you. Let's see here. Ooh, just hurt myself. Don't like that. Okay. Should we give like a brief overview first, and then we'll hop into it? You think?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so just a TLDR, I guess, for people that aren't super familiar. I'll be helping Path get to gold, and we're kind of just going to be highlighting the streaming or the coaching on stream. The VODs will be available on YouTube, and then also at some point, my editor will go down and turn it into a video just for the more bite-sized pieces. But yeah, we're just trying to document their past journey to gold, and I'm doing my best to help. And yeah, you can find Path's socials with the !Path command. And aside from that, I think that's pretty much it. Is there
Sounds
anything
good
you
to
want
me. Do you want to introduce yourself to my chat?
Sure, yeah. So I've been playing Valorant for too many years now. I was like originally a competitive player. I was trying to go pro. I think I ended up getting to like 900 RR in Radiant. And after I kind of stopped pursuing pro, I kind of pivoted to content creation, and I've been coaching for the past, I would say, at least 2 years full time. And before that, it was more like 3 to 4 years just in total. So this is kind of what I do now. I just coach people and try to get them improvement in Valorant. So that's pretty much it.
Nice. Sounds good to me.
Okay, so let's kind of hop into it. We got a lot to cover, but it's all simple. So to kind of give a brief overview, typically my first session with coaching clients is to kind of give the broad stuff first, and then we'll go into a bit more specifics. So let me actually screen share on Discord, because you're staring at nothing right now, probably. Let's see. Okay, so this is my Discord. Let me know what you can see.
Yeah, let me open it.
Yeah.
Looks good.
How long? Perfect. The coaching session will hopefully be around 60 to 90 minutes, but yeah, let's see how it goes. Okay, so you can see?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. So starting with the big stuff, let's start with the game plan, with the roadmap, I guess. Traditionally, this is kind of how I like to think about the ranks system and the skills you need. So Iron to Gold, I kind of consider this low elo. Plat to Diamond, I consider this mid elo, and then Ascendant Plus, I kind of consider this high elo in terms of buckets on what you work on. So Iron to Gold is where we're at currently, and that's going to be Gunfight Mastery or Comfort. Some people loosely say this as mechanics, but it's just gunfights in general. So I said we're here. We need to focus solely on taking gunfights and winning them, understanding the angles, and not using utility to avoid fights. Valorant is a shooter, and it starts here. You could switch agents if you want to help simplify the utility or the game plan. So Reyna is a pretty common one to kind of switch agents to, but we'll talk about that in a second. Once you are in Plat to Diamond, the focus shifts towards agent mastery or role identity. But before that, Valorant doesn't even start playing. Like, for example, there's the 4 roles in the game. You have Sentinel, you have Controller, you have Duelist, you have Initiator. All of that doesn't matter until you're in Plat, at least. So you're currently playing, you as Empath is currently playing Deadlock, but you're playing a lot more of that Sentinel role where you're throwing util to delay. I kind of want you to not even think about delaying and using your util in that sense until you're in plat. So very hardcore simplifying it here. And then of course, just touching on the Ascendant Plus, this is kind of where you look into the macro team play, maybe throwing fakes, maybe doing like understanding defaults, all that stuff. It's useful, of course, to know all of these like different, I guess, terminologies before you're there, but you're not really mastering macro in plat. And just like it's useful to understand the roles when you're in Iron to Gold, you aren't focused on mastering your agent or your role in Iron to Gold. So that's kind of the distinction there. So like I said, we're in Iron to Gold. We have to focus on gunfights and specifically not using utility to run away from them, which is one of the things we'll take a look at. So I'm actually going to skip the mechanics training now. We'll come back to it. And let's just actually talk about gameplay. So between the two VODs that I looked at, we looked at Fracture, and Nightbot just got stopped again.
I know, I don't know how to stop this from happening.
That's okay.
Here, maybe I can ban Faucetbot for a second.
Yeah, I don't know if there's like a permit command with
then
a
it'll be
Faucetbot.
fine.
But so we looked at Deadlock Bind, Deadlock Fracture, and the defense playbook that you're currently running is you hold out your wall. So you'll set up your sensors somewhere, you hold out your wall, and then when you hear them, you'll throw the wall, and then you either rotate or you'll kind of just, delay that area.
Yeah.
If they aren't there, you're super quick to rotate, and you just insta rotate off of noise. That's good. We should keep that. But the first part we'll talk about a bit more when we get there. And then for attack, this is, I would say, the harder half for you. Oftentimes you're kind of just like watching your teammates. Maybe we're like a couple spaces behind them, but we're not really involved in the gun duels, which is normal, especially when I look at VODs in this rank, and especially with players in your role, which is kind of why we have to abandon the idea of roles in the first place.
Okay.
And then the actual utility in our kit isn't being used until the bomb is down or you're on the bomb site. So you might throw like a sensor for flank or something like that, but your gravnet isn't being used, the little nade thing isn't being used as you're executing the bomb site, and the little wall isn't being used until the bomb is down most of the time. So nothing is actually being helped, like you aren't helping your teammates take the bomb site, you're only helping your teammates once the bomb site is secured. So obviously, if we don't have the bomb site, we're kind of just vibing, hoping that we have the bomb site.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Which again, kind of adds up with the idea of Sentinel players. So I just want you to know that that's fairly normal, and you're not alone in that journey. Okay, so with that out of the way, we kind of understand how we play. I actually just want to go through the VOD itself so you can see it. And then we'll also point out some other things as well, like how we're taking gun duels, some common patterns that we're having in our gun duels, and then where do we go from there? So starting with Bind, it's all good, Ondelair. Thank you, though. Path has an NA account for the custom. Okay, so I put a lot of notes here. It's not that important. These notes are for me largely, and we're not going to go all through them. But you can see we do have the sensor on flank. This is our go-to. And you can also see when we're on attack, we're kind of just, like we walk up to the choke point, we kind of just vibe. Like this is our thing here. We get to the choke, there's a smoke, and then everyone kind of just freezes while your Jet, if you look at minimap, is doing a lot there, trying to do her best. And, we're kind of just vibing here. So like I said, it's common. You can even see your 4 teammates are just, vibing while your Jet is fighting World War II. Or World War III. But then eventually we do come out and, where crosshair placement's pretty good. And then we start pushing up a little bit. And this is like the most unique round out of the 2 games I noticed, is kind of like where we fully pushed into spawn at some point. We just have a little bit of lack of awareness on the Yoru when we go for the bomb plant. So this is kind of where I saw the first piece of awareness that we can maybe work on. But one of the best things that I noticed with your gameplay in particular is your aim is actually really good relative to your skill, or like to your rank. So
thank you.
So even if your crosshair placement is off, you'll see here we're like flick back and forth and we're actually just tapping heads. and we'll touch on the gunfight in a second, but yeah, you can see we can flick. We have good reactions when enemies appear on our screen. It's not a crosshair. It's not an aim issue. Okay, it's not like a raw aim issue. It's kind of all of the skills related to gunfights that isn't raw aim. So crosshair placement, peeking. I'm gonna say awareness, but it's actually more like predicting, like anticipating the next gun duel and things like that. So that's kind of where we're at. And then I kind of just put some notes here. You can see we're pretty safe on the exec here, kind of just vibing out here. And yeah, we're kind of just doing our thing here until we get the bomb down. And then eventually you'll see we plant. And then now you'll also see, let me turn up the captions. Now you'll also see we'll eventually use our wall once the bomb is actually down. At some point, it does take us a little bit to get there. But there's the wall. And then this is kind of one of the most important things I'm about to bring up here is peeking. So we talked privately before, and there were some Valorant terminology that we kind of have to discuss. Peeking is probably the main one. I actually don't care too much about defaults and executes and all of that, but we'll touch on it if we need to. But peeking is kind of the I like to use basketball as an analogy. And if you think of the bare minimum you need in basketball is to be able to dribble the ball, pass the ball, and shoot the ball. In Valorant, peeking to me is dribbling the ball. If you can't peek properly, you aren't even like step one into the game. After that, like shooting the ball or passing the ball, that might be the same as like angle holding or maybe just actually raw aim or something like that, head height, whatever. But the point is peeking is a fundamental in this game, and we'll dissect that a bit more closely in the custom because peeking honestly is a very complex topic. But we have very easy guidelines to actually know what a proper peek is. So we'll touch on that when we get there. But I can see that you're very aware of slightly exposing yourself to the angle. So I know you told me that you're familiar with slicing the pie.
Yeah, chat taught me that one.
I can see you're doing that here. You're like very slowly opening to the angle. You don't overexpose. You go for a little jiggle. You throw the nade, and you know we're making sure we don't overexpose. So you're aware of your character body in that sense. And you can see aim is not an issue. We're able to adjust when needed. And I forget if we get this kill or not, but that's not important. So peeking, playing safe, all that stuff, it kind of comes out to the very core stuff we can work on. I'm just going to kind of run through a couple more here so you can kind of see where we're at, and you can just see the patterns here. So here's the next round. You can kind of see we're kind of just vibing in the choke point, kind of waiting until your teammates go out, hoping that they take the space, and then we'll kind of assist after. The nade eventually forces us out, so that's kind of what makes us go. We aren't going on our own accord, we're going because there's something going. And then we get shot in the back, whatever. In terms of pacing here, you can also see we're a little bit behind our Reyna. We pick up the spike. Our Reyna's running it down. We're kind of just not there. That's okay. That's normal for a Sentinel player. But I'm kind of just showing you the habits that we're seeing here. And then we get the bomb site and you immediately go to rush the plant. And I believe this is also our round. Next round, we end up getting slowed. They're pushing out and fighting while we are kind of sitting in the smoke. So as you can see, so far in attack, we actually aren't getting that many gun duels. Okay, that's key. We need to increase the amount of gun duels we get in a game just to increase the amount of impact that you have on the game. But more importantly, it just allows for more repetitions so that you can actually win more gun duels in the long term. Think about Iron to Gold as a tutorial phase, and you just want to level up as much as possible but in this time frame with your mechanics.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
I'm going to skip a little bit more forward here. You can kind of already see the pattern, you know, so here's another one. Kind of more slow play on attack, which, by the way, I honestly feel a little bit bad. The new player experience is very difficult. I was watching your VODs, and it's very clearly so much happening. There's util here, there's all these players here shooting at you, there's like a smoke in front of you. It's very distracting. And it's difficult. So the main reason why we want to simplify is so we can kind of focus our, like we can actually have focus on one thing. So let me go back into this round. Start the round A short. Nothing too crazy. We're walking up here. There's a wall here. And then now we're just like, okay, what do we do now? Let's check flank. You know, we don't shoot the wall. There's a nade from your teammates. Your Reyna's out. And then you're kind of like, oh, let's go check flank or something. Our shower players die. Okay, so what I'm trying to point out here is that we need a more clear way to understand where we should be going on attack to find our Gundles. And if I go into Valor Plant a little bit, and eventually we go into a custom and talk about it. But the way that you want to think about attack is that the players, let me back up. The map is divided in halves, right? So you have your, like, the attacker's half, and then you have the defender's half, which is typically the bomb sites. So pretty much anything in this yellow rectangle is going to be your space, and generally the enemies will be in the red rectangle. Okay, that sounds obvious to some, but it's not obvious when you play this game, and there's teleporters and there's flanks all the time. So generally the yellow rectangle is your space. Okay, so that generally means we look forward, and when you're looking forward into the red rectangle, you want to be looking at areas that have cover. So I don't want you to think about this red rectangle in this case now as all of a threat zone. Okay?
Okay.
You actually can kind of dissect where enemies are going to be by cover. So instead of this red box, I'm going to put white boxes. Maybe your attention should be focused on cover here because there's a wall there. Maybe this box here because there's a box there. Like, and then you kind of like put the area of the map like in this. Like that's where the enemies could be. It's not the full red rectangle that they could be. It's just these little white areas.
Okay.
But we'll revisit that in a second. Let's kind of go back here. So attack, we're playing a bit passive. We're not in the action, okay? You've seen some examples. Let's kind of switch over to defense and see what our play pattern looks like there. So we have our sensors down. You typically go full util. And then you kind of have your wall out waiting for noise. If there's no noise, you immediately rotate or flank. One thing that I like that you do really well that I can't even convince higher level players to do is immediately rotate and also go for fast flanks. So notice how you're kind of just sprinting down A short here, going for a fast flank onto B.
Yeah.
This is really good. It's a very aggressive play. You're keeping it simple, and you actually end up pushing down your jets here, which kind of ruins your flank. And then, you know, the round's over. But it's a good flank. It's a good quick rotate. It's a good quick flank. We want to keep that in our gameplay. Some things that we might not want to do is, actually I want to show an example of our rotate being the good. So we started A this round. They end up going B, skipping forward a little bit. You quick rotate because they made noise B, and then now you're here on the bomb site. This is the power of fast rotating, is you will actually get onto the bomb site before the bomb is down. I know that sounds, again, kind of obvious, but it's actually really powerful. Okay, so what should we avoid on our defense while playing passive? So on this round start here, it's been 3 seconds into the round. You have a teammate in hookah. If you're not familiar with that call out, it's just where your brimstone is on the left here. And then you have a Reyna in garden or belong, which is this teammate here. Generally, you want to be playing forward if your teammate is also forward. And maybe put more simply, I want you to be looking for fights almost all the time. Okay. That means that you should get used to being dead, and you should also get used to being low HP. But what you don't want to be doing is kind of just sitting here doing nothing. Now, okay. If you're in plat, it's a little bit different because your job is to delay, get info, whatever. We're not at that stage yet, okay? So what we end up doing, skipping forward a little bit, we start doing these walls to delay. So here's another round here. Similar setup, your brimstone's forward. He's taking a fight, he died. If we were there, maybe we could have gotten that trade as well. But more importantly, you hear B noise here, and your instinct is to throw the wall. Okay, now any player above plat, that makes sense. Let me delay for the rotate so my teammates can get over here, right? What I'd rather you do is I want you to hear those guys come B. I want you to walk forward like an idiot and then just go and fight that guy.
Okay.
And then if you win the fight, great. And if you lose the fight, next round. but you have to increase the amount of repetitions of gun duels that you get. Again, more gunfights is going to be better for you in the short term. You just have to continuously look for gunfights. Now, it's a little bit different if you hear like 5 people just running it down long. You can throw the wall because, chances are if you run into 5 people, you're going to die, right? But generally, you hear a guy, you go forward, you look for that fight. That should just be the one brain cell simplification of Valorant.
Okay, I can do that.
Okay, easy. So I'm just going to show off a couple more examples of our play pattern on defense, where we will kind of use util and run away. So in this case, if you look quickly on the minimap, your Brimstone sees this guy short. They start shooting. Okay, they die. You pull out your wall, and then you start delaying. Okay, big brain. We're delaying the A rush. Okay, so again, any player above plat, they're like, "Yep, that's a good wall." They'll review your VOD. They'll be like, "That's great." Instead, I want you to go and fight that guy short. Okay, so if you think that there's multiple players, maybe you'd use your little nade here and then throw it off the wall so that you can peek multiple players. If you were playing an agent with a flash, you would flash and swing.
Yeah.
But you could even throw this wall like you just did and then like walk behind it and take the fight. That's fine. I don't really care how you take this fight. Well, kind of. Like ideally you take the fight dry with no utility. Dry means no utility. So that you can increase the amount of repetitions winning dry gun duels, because you won't always have utility. Okay, so if I'm being super like optimized, I would say you wouldn't use util to take this fight. But I don't care whether or not you actually use util to take this fight in the big picture, as long as you take the fight. But the problem is you'll use this wall and then you're like, okay, A short is covered, it's walled off, I don't need to go fight that anymore. And your immediate instinct is to now wall and then sit here and vibe. And then you can see they're actually breaking your wall. So what if you walled there and actually peeked out maybe and then took that fight? You might have caught them while they were shooting your wall. But here's another concept to throw at you, is the concept of numbers. So you might have heard this from your chat before, but if you're down numbers, then you generally want to take risks. So right now we have 3 players, they have 4 players. Okay, so that means that if you're down numbers, you would actually be more inclined to take that fight short because you want to make it even. But if you're up numbers, let's pretend like we had 4 and then they had 3. This is kind of where numbers advantage tells you not to take risk and to hide. I don't want you to think about that either. If you're in a 5v2 or 5v3, a 5v4, and you have the clear advantage, everyone's going to tell you, don't take the risk, don't take that swing, don't take that fight. I'm, again, just getting rid of all of these concepts and stuff. And your one goal is to go and take gunfights, okay? The only exception is if you're very low HP. If you're 30 HP, you can play a little bit more ratty. Ratty in Valorant terms is kind of like sitting in a corner or like kind of, waiting for an opportunity for like a much more clear advantage fight. So if you're low HP, you can play ratty by all means. But until you're until you're in gold, maybe even in plat, you just take as many fights as you can. It's going to look stupid. You're going to feel bad about it. Your teammates might even flame you. But your goal, again, is just to get as many gun duels as possible. And trust me, this will get you to rank up quicker. It might feel bad short term, but you will rank up quicker in the long term with this. Another way to think about it, I heard this analogy from another content creator, Royal G, but he actually used a basketball analogy as well, I think. But it's like if you're playing basketball and you're like a high schooler versus like an elementary schooler. It doesn't matter like all the tactics and utility. You're just going to brute force out physical the enemy player, right? The elementary school kid. You want to get to the point to where you're a high schooler versus elementary kids with your mechanics. So no matter what decision you make, you're likely going to come out on top. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So now we're kind of on board with that thought process. I just want you to see the pattern again on one other map, and then we'll kind of go into the actual actionables.
Okay.
So we start defense here just so that you can kind of see we have our sensors up on the map. And then we also use the wall on noise. So you can see that this is a pattern you do on multiple maps and not just behind. So in this case, there's noise B. We do the one brain cell rotate and we fast rotate. That's good. There's like a little meme. Some people might be familiar with it, but it's called the mid-curve meme. there's basically like, it's like an IQ scale. So let's just say this is 0 IQ and this is like max IQ. I actually don't even know the numbers. I'm probably over here. And then this is where the majority of players are. Okay, so this is where your chat will be. You shouldn't rotate. There could be a lurker, or they might be faking, or they might go back to A after these 2 kills happen, right? So all these people in your chat, the majority of people in this chat right now won't actually rotate. But the person on the left, which is a beginner, which is you, and then the person on the right, which in this case might be a radiant. So in this case, I'll put myself there. We will all, you and me both will fast rotate. Everyone in this chat won't fast rotate.
Okay.
So unironically, you're doing the right thing here. And I don't want you to get plagued by these newer players in the game telling you not to fast rotate. Okay. You should just rotate off of first sign of life. Now there is a bit of nuance, and if they start playing a bit slower, you can adapt. I don't really want you to think about that now. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But I just want you to really fast rotate with 1 brain cell and understand that it's actually the better play.
Yeah, I don't know about, or I wasn't thinking about it being the better play like in these scenarios. It was mostly like in previous games, my teammates would get mad at me if I didn't immediately come over at the first sign of death or something. So that's why I picked that up.
No, I mean, that's good. It's good to just quick rotate. So a couple of passive tendencies. So this round here, you rotate in, then you'll notice you see this fade here, and then you kind of just run away. Okay, we need to change that instinct. Okay, so you can kind of see where I'm going with this. Okay. You see the fade there? I want you to just swing into the fade, and then that's hopefully where proper peeking technique will help you. Learn that a little bit. But yeah, you see the fade there, you're just gonna swing. You get the kill, great. If you die, that's +1 rep. Maybe some more examples of a good aim. You can see we're kind of like crosshair placement in the floor there, all good. And then really great adjustment onto the omen. And actually we're tapping well. We actually have 0 blue bars. Are you familiar with the orange and blue bars?
I know it. One means you're moving and one means you're not, but that's about the extent of it.
Yeah, there you go. That's pretty much it. Something that's happening, by the way, that wasn't happening yesterday with your mic is like, it kind of, I don't know how to explain it. Chat, can you hear that too?
Is it like gargling? I might need to unplug it and plug it back in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was that happening on your end as well, or is it just mine? Say robot voice? Oh no. Okay, so it's happened before.
Oh, it happens like every stream.
I gotcha. Okay. So again, like identifying that we actually have good aim, and I want you to understand that that's not the problem here. It's the crosshair placement. So everyone hears crosshair placement and they're like, oh, head height. Sure, that's one of it. The other part of crosshair placement is knowing like, where are they going to come from? So if we're thinking about anticipation aspects, like you have your wall here, which means they can't come from here. So that means that they can only come from this right side here or this smoke here. So you would kind of commit your crosshair to like one of these. That's the other part of crosshair placement. But again, kind of just the aim is not the problem, okay? And I just want you to actually internalize it by seeing these examples. Here's another round here where we kind of just wall something off of noise. So you're kind of wall out, waiting for noise, and then you wall, okay? Given what I'm telling you now, what you would do instead is walk forward and go fight that guy.
Yeah,
so if you have GravNet, you would walk forward. If you want to, you can still do the wall and then just peek behind it, but you're just gonna walk forward and actually take that fight. But instead, you can see our instinct is to wall and back up, which makes sense. Like I do kind of want to reiterate, that is the technically correct play.
Okay.
But you have to learn how to take gun duels first.
Okay.
So utility, correct decision-making, all of that stuff goes out the window. You are trying to become a high schooler playing against elementary school kids in Valorant.
Okay. It's okay. I've done that before.
Okay. I don't know how to respond to that. But okay, so now this is a bit more of the actual highlight of where our mechanics and peaking technique is currently at. Okay, so what you'll see here is number one, we're shift peaking, which actually maybe I should mention. I don't know how to set it up exactly, but there's like an overlay you can have that like shows your keyboard inputs, that like WASD.
Oh, yeah, I do have it.
Okay, perfect. We can turn that on for the upcoming VODs, but that can give you an idea of troubleshooting your peaking technique. So simply put, when you go into a fight, you should only be using two keys, which is the A and D key. If you're holding shift, it's a bad peak. If you're holding W, it's a bad peak. If you're pressing any other button aside from A or D, it's a bad peak.
Okay.
Like 99% of the time. Okay. So in this fight here, you'll see, I think the website might have just crashed, or no, never mind. You'll see here, we end up going for a little shift peak here. And we kind of just walk out. And obviously we die because of the stun, whatever. But if we had potentially better peaking technique, you might have actually got the insta-kill here. Like you might have been able to just step out and just one-tap that guy. Maybe it would take 2 bullets. But I'm going to let you see this a couple of times, and I'll draw our trajectory. So we shift peak, so instead of it being quick, it's like dotted lines here, just to kind of signify it's slower, okay? And instead of it being directly out with an AD peak, we're actually kind of rounding it a little bit. And typically when you peak, you don't want to round the corner. My question to you is, do you kind of understand why?
Because if I'm going slower, they have more chance of hitting me.
Okay, so are you saying that in regards to the shift peak or the rounding? Because that's true for both.
Oh, then both.
Okay. But yeah, there we're shifting, and we'll get into proper peaking technique when we're in the custom. Here's another example of a rounding peak. So let me back up for context. We back up here. Okay, so we're gonna come back out, and then we did not shift peak there, but we actually used some W key movement there. So our trajectory there wasn't as it wasn't a straight line. And it's kind of hard to tell when you're watching it back. But if you were to go in a straight line, you would actually go this way if you're only using A and D keys. But we actually move forward, kind of hugging the box a little bit to get this fight. And we'll see the difference, or hopefully you'll see the difference when we're in a custom. I'll kind of move around with A and D versus W and A and WD, and you kind of see like how much quicker I move. And it adds up, but we'll see it in the custom. Okay, so to recap, so far in our defense, we are rotating on first sign of life. That's good. But we're walling and running away from fights, which is not ideal currently. And then we have good aim, and currently our peaking technique isn't solidified. Okay, so that's kind of the summary so far. We delay a bit more here. You've seen enough examples, so I won't kind of go through it too much. Here's another example of us hitting a nice shot. It's actually pretty good crosshair placement here as well. And you actually technically did a good deady peak here because you stopped.
Wait, what? Notice that what peak?
Okay, yeah, sorry. So deady peak is shorthand for dedicated peak.
Okay.
Dedicated peak means you've picked an angle before it happens and you walk out and you stop. Okay, so you're kind of like, I don't even know how you would think about this in any other term. This is gonna sound very strange, but you know, I don't even, what's the song called? It's like that song, that party song where like, you know, to the right, like that song. You like take a step to the side.
I know the song, yeah.
Yeah, you take a step to the right, and then your distance is fixed, right? You're already knowing that you're going into that step and stopping. You're stepping and stopping, stepping and stopping. Cupid shuffle, yeah. So that is kind of what a dedicated peak in Valorant is. You're stepping out and you're stopping, but you already know you're going to stop before you go into it, so that all of your attention goes on seeing the target and shooting. Okay. Whereas if you were to kind of just like strafe out continuously, then you would have to, number one, see the target, process that the target is there, and then stop, and then shoot the target. but you're kind of cutting out that processing and stopping time by kind of stopping ahead of time, if that makes sense.
Yes, I think.
It's a little bit strange here, but you actually did it intuitively here, because when you saw you did a proper deady peek out, right? You saw that little slight pause, and then you did it again, and then now you actually kind of killed that player. So again, good shot, crazy shot actually.
Oh, thank you.
In our crosshair placement, I just want to highlight it's actually really good here because you're not over aiming into the box. Like you have a really good gap between your crosshair and the box on this entire swing here, which means that your adjustment when this guy swings into you eventually is really good. I'm going to slow it down. So we have this gap the whole time here. Stop. You saw that little slight pause. And then now this neon is swinging us. If your box was into the wall and you do the whole pre-aim peeking, this will make more sense when we get into the custom. But to kind of give you a little bit of a sneak peek, most of the time when people peek in this game, they put their crosshair in the wall, or in this case, the box, and then strafe out. And this is what people call pre-aiming. In your case, you actually didn't do a pre-aim. You had a gap from the box, which means that your adjustment, because you can imagine if your crosshair is here, this adjustment to this neon is much further than your adjustment. And eventually he swings really wide. And then again, if your crosshair is here, this would have to be a crazy flick compared to your small micro here. And that's what causes you to hit the shot. But to clarify, you don't want to be peeking angles all the time with the gap. And we'll talk about that as well.
Okay.
Which is kind of why peeking gets very technical and very different. Just like dribbling, like you can be I don't know, really good dribbler, I would assume, with some fancy stuff. But here's another example. This, I think, is where you're incorporating the whole slice the pie technique.
Over there.
Slowly open up to these angles. And you hit a really nice flick again. So you can see aim is not the problem. That guy got destroyed. The problem is our peeking here. Okay, so I don't actually know the term for this, the way we're kind of like slowly, I guess, shuffling out here, or like baby steps into the angle. This, even though you're isolating the angles one by one here, this is technically bad form. Because it's not actually proper peaks, okay? But the idea is correct. You're isolating the angles, you're trying not to overexpose, which is a good thing. But the thing that you'll hopefully notice when we go into the custom is there's no speed behind these movements. So that if there's a player on the enemy, like kind of holding the angle, they should be able to kind of shoot us really quickly. Now this guy kind of sucks and missed. But you know, once you start pushing gold lobbies and they're holding that angle, they might be able to kill you pretty quickly. I'll actually show you an example on our attack side. That was this. Yeah, so this round here, you'll see we actually start shift peeking out, and then this player kills us really quickly.
Yeah.
So in order to have in order to have a chance against a player holding an angle and they're actually quick, you need to have speed when you peek. And then you also ideally have your crosshair close to them and you're ready for the actual kill. But if we were peeking that slowly against the Sage on the other round, we might have just insta-died just like we did here. Okay. And I just wanted to show a couple of rounds on our attack where we're kind of a bit slower, like we were on the bind game. Maybe here. No, this one we actually ran out. It looks like I didn't actually note too much on that stuff. It looks like I kind of just went completely mechanical on the second half. So let's actually take a look at this. We actually went a bit quicker here, which I think was good. But you can kind of see our crosshair. We're kind of just looking at the general vicinity of stuff.
Yeah.
So the way that it would ideally look is crosshair flicks here, and then you're holding for a little bit. And then as you're exposing to this angle, maybe I'll actually just do it in slow-mo. And you might have seen people do it before if you've seen Valorant gameplay. Hold on. This YouTube embed is like buggy sometimes. I can't even press this thing. Let me try refreshing. Let's go back.
And my chat is already flaming me for not making decisions fast enough.
That's okay. Okay, so you'll see crosshair kind of going a bit. Okay, so now here we would be looking at drop. So if I were to draw it, our crosshair should be here. And then I'm going to unpause it. And then as our crosshair should still be up there, holding drop. And then as we expose right here, this is when it would shift. So our crosshair would stay here the entire time until you're about to expose this angle. You take a slight pause if you need to, and then you throw this crosshair all the way over here, and then you're going to preaim this one. So some people call this angle snapping, but the way you kind of want to think about it is you go from one angle to another, and you kind of ignore all the stuff in between, unless you think that they could be on an off angle. Are you familiar with on and off angles?
I think I've just seen it described as like if someone's on top of that box, it's like not normal head height. So I wouldn't have my crosshair nearby. I don't know.
Okay, I think you're on the right track. When you say box, do you mean this?
Yeah.
Okay,
What is that?
yeah.
Is that not a box?
I mean, I don't even know what it is, to be honest. It's like some metal thing. But yeah, that's pretty accurate in some aspects. Maybe a bit more simply, an on angle is going to be a very common angle that you see all the time. So this would be considered an on angle right next to cover. But a couple steps to the left, I'm going to put this in blue. This would actually be considered an off angle because it's not as common. They're kind of in the open. You don't normally pre-aim there. Like if you were to angle snap, you would probably angle snap to the red rectangle and not the blue rectangle.
Okay.
So generally you want to make sure you're really dialed in on clearing on angles, and you can kind of be a bit more lazy with off angles just because they happen a little bit less. Now, that actually kind of goes the opposite as you climb the ladder, because people don't play on angles anymore. They only play off angles. But that's for the future as well.
Yeah, I'll cross that bridge when I get there.
Exactly. Okay, so I kind of want to highlight a couple things in terms of your gun hygiene. One thing that you never do is you never spray, and you typically only tap or burst. So let's kind of take a look at some of those gun duels.
Where I'm supposed to be spraying?
Okay, so that's a conversation as well.
Okay.
That chat will likely disagree with me. I want to actually highlight our 3K first because I thought this one was pretty good, and then it also highlighted our peak at the end. So let me speed this up a little bit. So we get a nice 3K this round. I will unmute. So kind of just diving, you see our crosshair. It's kind of off. We hit the flick. Yeah. You went for 2 bursts here and not a spray. So you went for the first flick onto like their hips, and then you shot a couple bullets, and then you burst it again on the head. And then you're bursting the little gecko wingman there. Speed forward a little bit. Pick up the Vandal. Back up into this corner. And then you'll kill this player eventually. Not with the spray. With a little like quick tap / burst or something. And then this is where it highlights our rounding peak. So notice how like you came around that corner like an arc.
Yeah.
Like an upside down U, whatever you want to call it. Ideally, it's just straight out. So in this case, if you knew he was the planter,
I didn't know he was gonna be there. I remember this.
Yeah, he kind of caught you off guard. That's fair. Maybe this, if I was reviewing a plat VOD, I would point out your neon's in heaven, so they can only be on site somewhere. So you'd either clear right side or you'd clear left side here. But in our case, we only want to be making sure that we're peeking with proper technique. So if you did know that this player was here, you would actually, in this case, put your crosshair in the wall, and then you would peek out in a straight line to try to clear that guy fully, if you did know. So moving on, I want to highlight the tapping and bursting, and then we'll kind of get into the conversation.
Okay.
So here's one maybe. Yep, so there we're kind of caught off guard. You can see your flick landing is actually pretty close to the target. And then we're going for those tap burst, okay? Let's kind of go again. There's another example couple of examples on defense. I forget this one. Oh, this was just good shots actually. Shift peek though. There we would ideally have a proper peek, but tapping, you can see works well with pistols. Very well with pistols. Actually forget this one. Oh yeah, tap burst again, tap burst again. And there's a couple of other stuff here. The main thing I want you to know is that it's just very common for you to do this. We don't really spray, you just tap burst a bunch of times.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll happen on this fight as well, I believe, at some point. It gets into like a weird, awkward spot here. Okay, so flick, tap burst, you get the kill. Okay, so now that we know that that's our habits, everyone in your chat and probably my chat will saying, "Oh, that's great. She's not panic spraying," or they're not crouch spraying, and that is true. It's kind of the opposite problem. Most people in this game have a crouch spraying problem, so they're kind of just standing still and they're an easy target. There's two sides to this coin in the sense that if you do spray, you get more bullets out of your gun, so your time to kill might be quicker. But if you don't kill them quick enough, then it actually would have been better to tap or burst. Okay, so it's like you kind of have to find the line. The general common advice that you'll see on YouTube videos and from other coaches is that you shouldn't be spraying at all, and you should be doing this thing called 2-bullet bursts all the time. So basically what that means is you shoot 2 bullets, you strafe to the side, you shoot another bullet, 2 bullets, strafe to the side, shoot 2 bullets, strafe. That's the way you take all of your gun duels. And that's going to be the most common advice you hear online.
Okay.
I think my opinion is a bit different from that in the sense that I do appreciate the fact that 2-bullet bursting and strafing is very good. It might even be the most ideal way to play the game, but I find it to be slightly unrealistic because after your first 2-bullet strafe, you could easily transition your next gunfight into a spray instead of just it being 2 bullets, 2 bullets, 2 bullets, 2 bullets. It could be 2-bullet spray, 2-bullet spray. And that might increase, or I guess decrease your time to kill, which might be better off exploring in the range or in a custom.
Yeah.
But we'll get there. That's all the footage I wanted to see, or I wanted to show you from your own gameplay. To kind of recap, like we did at the start, defense, your formula is to wall and then run away, or wall and then kind of stall. You might wall on the nade, but we're not pushing forward for the fight. We have to rewrite that. And we're just going to be, if they're where you're at, you're just going to walk forward and take the fight. If you want to, you can use utility. That's fine. There is a video from Wahujin. His guide to gold video basically says, if it's a 1v1, you don't use util at all. You just take the fight. If there's a possibility that there's multiple players, like you're peeking into a 1v2 or a 1v3, then you're allowed to use util. You can use that as a guideline if you'd want.
Okay.
I'm not going to be strict about it, but that could be useful. But just the core idea is if you hear them, you're going to go take that fight, generally.
Okay. I'll try my
with
best.
proper peeking technique. The other thing that we want to keep on our defense is quick to rotate. Like you just want to make sure you're fast rotating. That's great. Getting into the action. We should keep that. For attack, I'm going to be honest with you. Attack is going to be a lot harder in the sense that you can't really flowchart attack as well. Like on defense, you can kind of play a spot. They're there, you fight them. If they're not there, you fast rotate or you flank. On attack, you can't really do that. So like generally, you're just going to be sticking with your team and then looking for opportunities. We might be able to revisit attack a bit more specifically in the next session as like a decision-making whole thing. But for now, we just really have to focus on our mechanics and developing that mechanical technique first before we even think about the nuances of attack. Because to be honest, the nuance of attack kind of goes pretty deep. Like where you should be looking, should you be first entry, second entry? I don't want to overwhelm you with that at this point. Okay, so all that said, now we can kind of get into the fun stuff. At least I think that's the fun stuff. Is mechanics. So I'll kind of just read through this. Currently, we're only tapping / bursting, which means you aren't panic spraying, which some people would say is good. I think it's good that you're not panic spraying, but I also think that you could incorporate spraying. I guess going back to the basketball analogy, we are only shooting 3-pointers and 2-pointers, but we're not doing layups, I guess. I don't play basketball, but
Yeah, me neither.
that it's basically another tool in your toolkit. Tapping, bursting, spraying. That's all the ways you shoot your gun. We're only doing the first two.
Okay, in the range, can you show me? I think I have an idea of what it like looks like, but I think I'm scared of spraying because I don't like I'm not comfortable with the like the recoil or like the way that my gun moves afterward. So I just get scared, and then that's probably why I'm only tapping and bursting.
That's completely valid. We'll go into some drills that you can do to practice your spraying for sure.
Okay.
And then we'll also go into some drills that will practice your bursting. And then we will also go into a custom afterwards to practice our peaking, probably in that order, actually.
Okay.
So maybe the first thing we can do is load into the range. We can't go into the range together. So I'll load into the range separately. You'll load into the range separately. And then we'll touch on the spraying part first.
Okay.
And I guess it'd be useful if you also shared your screen, I guess, for me to see your point of view with the spraying. For agent selection, when you load in, just go ahead and select breach, and I'll kind of get into why in a little bit.
Okay.
And I'll keep my game unmuted.
Oh,
or
should
muted,
I keep?
sorry. You can do whatever you'd like. I have to figure out how to pop out your gameplay. Okay, so that works. Okay. So I'll tab back and forth between this. You can currently see my screen, is that right? My game?
If I do this.
Okay. I can full screen it too, just so that there's not the other stuff. 1 second. Yeah, it's black screen. Okay. You can see my game?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, we're gonna start with spraying. It actually might not be the best order for this, but who cares? I'm gonna make my crosshair really exaggerated, really big, so you can see the top of it. Okay, you can see the top of my crosshair. The first thing you need to know about spraying is that. Go ahead, sorry.
Well, it was just taking a second to load, but it's a bit choppy.
Is it? Oh, if I go back to windowed screen, is it fine? Let's wait. Is it still choppy?
I think it's fine. I'm not sure. I think it's fine.
It might be the Discord. Hold on.
It might be.
Let's see. I can change the stream quality. So let's see. Let me go to 30 FPS potentially and 720. It's gonna look a little ugly, but on Discord. How's it now?
That looks better.
Okay. A little bit ugly, but 720, whatever. So I just need you to see the top of my crosshair. Okay. I'm just gonna spray first without even controlling it. So mouse off the mouse pad. You can see my bullets kind of go up and then side to side. Okay. I'm gonna do it one more time, and I want you to notice when it goes side to side, the top of the crosshair disappears. So what does that mean? That means that in order to control your spray, you only have to pull down until the top of your crosshair disappears. Okay, does that make sense?
Until it disappears?
Yes, so in order to control your spray, you only pull down, and then after the pull down, once you're done pulling down and it only goes side to side, you only have to counter your spray by going the opposite side it goes. Let me kind of back up. So if my bullets go up, I'm going to pull down to counter it, right? So if I want to get my bullets in a cluster, I pull down. After it's done pulling down, my bullets will now go left and right. So then I have to control it accordingly. So if my bullets go to the left, I'm going to pull to the right. If my bullets go to the right, I'm going to pull to the left. What you need to know is that the left and right is completely random.
Okay.
But it's not random in the sense that one bullet would go to the left, one bullet would go to the right. The cluster is random. So it's going to go to the left for a couple bullets. It's going to go to the right for a couple bullets. It's going to go to the left for a couple bullets, right couple bullets, so on and so forth. Okay. Typically, you actually only have to worry about controlling your spray with the pull down. So if you can kind of get really good at spraying the first 10 or so bullets and just figuring out how to pull down into this cluster, you're like 80% of the way there. You don't actually have to control the spray left to right that much in game. Most of the time, your gunfights are going to be looking something like this. You have the bot spawn, and you're kind of gonna like crouch spray like this, and you're basically trying to get your bullets into head height by pulling down vertically. That's all you have to do. You can see they die so quickly because the bullet hits their face and they die. And even if you do body sprays, like it's still pretty quick. And all you have to do is pull down. You're not pulling left to the right. You're just pulling down. This honestly is where you'll see most people in plat to diamond and how they shoot. They just get their kills by not overcomplicating the gun duel.
Okay.
What most people do because of YouTube videos is they shoot like this. And if they're whiffing, it's going to take a while to get this kill. Whereas if they just body spray the guy, they would die. So that's kind of why I don't encourage the whole 2-bullet bursting all the time. There's like a happy medium there. Yeah. And generally that's based on distance. So if you're really far away, it gets pretty hard to spray, which is a little bit showcased over here. I'm kind of jumping ahead, but you can't really spray here. Like your bullets kind of go everywhere.
Yeah.
But if, you know, they're 20 meters away, you can spray a little bit more reasonably. So distance matters a ton here for sure. So the general advice is if they're far, far away, you just tap. And then the closer they get, you might do 2 bullets. And then even closer, you might 2 bullets or you might spray. And then if they're really close, you might just full spray. And then if they're right in your face, you might just run and gun them, right? Woohujin calls this gunfight hygiene. It's a good concept to know.
Okay.
Let me kind of back up a bit. So what I want you to do is I want you to have no bots, get semi-close to the wall, like kind of like this distance. I guess this is like close to 20 meters. And then I want you to just practice pulling down your spray so that you get it in a nice cluster. A good way to think about this is that you want to set a point that your bullets don't go above. So let's say like I draw an imaginary line here, then I spray. I don't want any of my bullets to go above that, at least most of them. And that's kind of when you have a good gauge for how much you're pulling down. Okay, so with that said, let's hop over to your point of view. And there's a lot of Discord going on now.
Yeah, this is going to be
Oops,
a little...
I'll wait. Okay.
It kicked me out, so I need to get back in the range.
Heard. Okay, so far any questions, by the way?
No.
Just a lot.
It's just a lot, yeah. A little overwhelming, but
understood.
I'll get it.
It all goes back to just mechanics.
Yeah.
My ultimate's ready.
And you said breach?
Yeah.
My ult's ready.
Oh,
okay.
which?
And then Vandal's
one?
fine here.
Okay. Okay, do you want me to draw the line?
It's up to you. Just whatever feels good for you. Your goal here is just to control the first 10
Not very straight, but okay. Oh my god. Wait.
It's okay. You just have to get the natural feel for how it feels to pull down. You can see it's kind of hectic.
Yeah. It's also kind of loud. I'll put it down a little.
Oh yeah, no worries. I have it muted on my end, so.
Oh no.
It's okay. No, it's okay. I guess it also might help, potentially, for you to know when to stop if you make your crosshair really big, so you can kind of see the top disappear again.
I can
do you have
do the original one, maybe?
Yeah, sure. Let's see if it disappears. Yeah, perfect. So as soon as it stops, or sorry, as soon as it disappears, you just stop your spray and then move on to another one. Because we don't care about controlling the left and right now.
Okay.
Let's get a good feel for that. That's good. You can see it's getting more clustered.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that it's like riding a bike. It's all feel based. Like you wouldn't be able to learn to ride a bike if someone told you left foot, right foot, balance yourself. It's just like you just feel it out, to be honest. That's where a lot of reps have come into play. It might also help if you spray the wall without controlling it to see where the bullets are, so you can kind of get a visual representation of how much you should pull down for each bullet. So just spray the wall without controlling it. Yeah. Perfect. So you can kind of see the first 3 or so bullets are really tight. The fourth one starts to jump, and then 5, 6, 7, 8 kind of goes all the way up, and then it stops going vertical. So the first 3 are tight, and then after that it ramps up, and then it kind of stops after 10. I don't know if that helps at all, but you can reasonably get away with shooting 2 bullets, and they're always tight. So when you do 2-bullet bursting, you actually don't control your recoil at all. You just shoot 2 bullets. You don't even pull down. So with the first 2 bullets of your spray, you actually don't pull down at all. You start pulling down after the first 2 bullets. That actually looks good though.
Okay.
No, that actually looks good. And then you'll get a kind of a feel for it at some point, but I also, yeah, that's it. That's part of your practice, is kind of getting that spray. Once you can kind of get it into like a nice little cluster, you'll level up onto the next spray drill. So going back to my screen here, let me know when you can see.
Okay.
Okay, so step 1 of spray control is getting it into a cluster. Okay, once you can kind of do this, you will level up into spray transfers. At this point, don't worry about incorporating this into your routine yet, but just know that what you're aiming for is going to be spray transfers. So it's going to look something like this. Once you actually get that vertical pull down, you'll be able to kind of spray transfer at head height. Because if you think about it, if you can control your spray at the head now, I don't even have the mouse open, which means that I can actually get all my bullets onto the head if my crosshair is just at their place. Okay, so what does that mean? That means that if I start controlling the head height, the only thing I need to do now is actually move left to right to get headshots.
Okay.
So that's kind of what spray transfers are. Normally, your spray transfers, you're actually going to be in the middle of that first 10 bullets. So your first kill will kind of be in the first 2, and then your second kill will kind of be slightly after that. And then, yeah, I don't want to overcomplicate it, overwhelm you too much. Just know that that's what you're aiming for.
Yeah, the context is helpful.
After you get that. Most of your gunfights in Valorant, though, will just be one target. So that means that you can simplify your gun duels a lot in this game by just going for like quick crotch sprays. And that's actually what you'll see a lot of pros do. They don't do this 2-bullet burst thing all the time. Like, it's actually pretty rare that you see pros shoot like this in game. Maybe the 2 prominent ones are Aspas and Les. Great players. Some might even consider Aspas the best. But that's because he can aim really quickly every single time he bursts. Like, he's that quick. Most players just shoot like this in game, and they get the kill really quickly because their spray control and their crosshair placement and their peeking is good, and they just get the insta kill, right? And then this is kind of what you're aiming for in terms of how quick your sprays convert into kills.
Okay.
So just to kind of give you an idea why spraying is useful and why 2-bullet bursting might not be as applicable as some people might think.
Okay.
But it is a great starting point because it means that you aren't panic crouch spraying, which is a whole other problem that people have. So yeah. Okay, so drill 1 for you is spray control. This one. That's all you need to worry about, is getting your spray, the first 10 bullets or so, into a cluster. The next drill that we're going to implement is practicing your bursting. So this is why we actually picked breach. All you're going to do here, spawn the bots. You're going to run over into this little corner. Then you're going to use the ulti, aiming a little bit to the left slightly. And your goal is basically just to push all the bots away. Have you seen this?
No, but it just clicked in my head that you're saying like the ult T. I thought it was like a cute nickname, like the ulti. Okay.
That was not intentional. That's my keybind is T.
Okay.
Okay. So after you push all the bots away, some of them are going to get stuck. I got a lucky roll here in the sense that there's only 2 in the center. You actually only want 2. You need all the other bots to be past this left pillar. Okay, so we have 2 bots here.
Okay.
for the sake of this drill, I'm actually going to change my crosshair back to normal so that you can actually see the bot. But what you're going to do here is now you're going to be practicing your 2-bullet burst and the actual strafing part of it. So right now, what you're doing a lot in game is you're tapping and you're kind of like doing like these micro strafes, like where you're not really moving that much, or you're not moving at all.
Yeah, I don't think I'm moving much.
Ideally, you have some speed in your strafe. It's kind of hard to tell here, but there's like a slight acceleration on your character. So until you reach that speed threshold, you're actually moving very slow. Like if I just step like this, I don't move very fast. But if I strafe like this, I'm moving pretty quickly. In most of your gun duels, you want to kind of be in this cadence here. That's also true when you're peeking. So maybe to give a little bit of sneak peek into peeking, if you kind of just like tap angles very slowly like this, you're not going to have enough speed. The other guy on the end will just one tap you. But if you wanted to clear each angle, like each tiny pixel angle like that, you would peek out and then step back in so that you can get speed on each of those.
Okay.
That's normally not how people do it in this game, to be honest. The way people do it in this game is they just have a full step for each one, and then any off angle that's in that step, they just flick. So what I mean by that is I'm going to fully step out onto this pillar right now, this pillar here. I'm going to fully step out, and notice how like there's actually a lot of minor pixel angles in between. So if I'm full peeking here and I'm not actually isolating them one by one like this, you might think, well, Dopai, that means your crosshair placement is bad. You're not actually on target. That's true. You do have to kind of make a gamble, but my micro flick is good enough that if there is a target kind of like not pixel perfect on my preem, I can kind of just adjust. So in short, what that means is when you're peeking angles, you actually do it in chunks. You don't do it one by one, you do it in chunks. I think that's a better way to think about it. And your chunk is related to how wide your strafe is. And you need to make sure your strafe is the minimum speed of threshold. Kind of getting a little bit complicated here, but I just want you to know that you should be stepping in full strafes when you move around in this game and you're taking fights. So that means that that's also true when you're bursting. You should be bursting with good, like wide steps in between so that you can actually dodge bullets. You can imagine if you're just bursting really quickly like this, you might get more bullets off, but you're actually not moving that much. So you might actually be an easier target. And when you watch clips from someone like Aspas, he will burst very quickly like this because he can shoot like all the targets very quickly when he's micro bursting like that. That's not natural. And unfortunately, it also makes your bullets very easily to hit shooting error. You can see just on the blue bars on the right here, I can't really do the bursting at that speed without hitting blue bars very consistently. It starts going whack. Now you can train that for sure, but training that skill and getting really good at it actually doesn't translate to you being good in game, because you could either spend 100 hours getting really good at micro bursting like this, or you could just spray the guy.
Yeah.
And you know, that's kind of where I get into I think that's why spraying is slightly better in that scenario. So bringing it back to the drill, you're just going to burst 2 bullets, then you're going to flick, and then you're going to strafe, and then get your target into it. So if you wanted to simplify it a little bit more, one drill that Woohoojin has is the over aim and the under aim drill. I'm not going to actually prescribe it here, but I'm going to show it to you so you kind of understand what you're doing in this drill. So the over aim drill is essentially you aim in the center, and then if I'm flicking to the left, I'm going to over aim to the left side of this target. So here. And then the rest of the micro adjustment, I'm not going to do again with my mouse. So the micro adjustment, if you were standing still, would look like this. But instead, we're going to do our initial flick and then compensate with our movement. So basically, if I'm doing it slow-mo, it's that. You're finishing your fight with your strafe. Okay, so that's the over aim drill. You could do the opposite. So you could under flick. So I'm going to flick from here to the spot here, under flick, and then I'm going to strafe to the right and try to finish that fight. I'm a noob, but you can kind of see that's the premise, okay? So when you kind of combine the two, it's going to look something a bit more natural like this, where you're kind of bouncing back and forth. And you have to quickly identify whether or not you actually overflicked or underflicked and move your character accordingly. But what you're shooting for is like a natural cadence like this. And if it takes you a long time to get your crosshair onto the target, widen your steps. You can slow it down, widen your steps. And this is kind of what it's going to look like. And then eventually you can speed it up. And then at some point you'll get a really natural cadence to burst strafing. Okay, so these are the two drills that's going to encompassate your fights.
Okay.
Spraying the wall, and this little simple 2-bot drill here. As soon as you shoot the target on the first one, you're going to move on to the second one in terms of habits. What I don't want you to do is shoot the first one, miss, and then shoot it again. I want you to just shoot the first one and move on to the second one, and just keep bouncing back and forth. And if you don't kill the target, that's fine. Just move on to the next one.
Okay.
Okay, so let's see how it looks from your point of view.
Okay. I think it kicked me out again.
Did it?
Yeah.
That sucks. Just let me know, by the way, if you have any questions, if you want clarifying questions. I can definitely understand if it's too much or if you need...
I think it's going well. I'll probably go really slow right now and then have you
My
watch me.
ultimate's ready.
Yeah, yeah. Perfect.
My ult's ready.
Oops, wrong one. Which one was it?
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, Breach and Brim, I used to get them mixed up all the time, so you're not alone.
Okay, what do I
So you
do to start?
Yeah, you just do practice here. Yep, perfect. And then you go into that little corner by the staircase.
Oops.
Yep, perfect. Oh yeah, you're in the right corner. You can stuff yourself into the corner if you'd like.
Oh,
You're actually in the right one, but
Oh.
I mean, they probably both work. And then just pull out your ultimate. So in this case, X, yeah. And then just shoot it a couple times. It's like 3 or 4 times.
My ult's ready.
And again, the goal here is just to move the bots into the area. So just do one more, just for safe measure.
My ult's ready.
Perfect. And then we'll go back to the starting point. And we just need 2 bots in the center. So right now we only have 1. So you'll pick a bot on the far left side and just kill them, and then we'll spawn back to the center. And yeah, there you go. Those are your 2 bots. Go ahead and start slow if you'd like. You can also take 1 or 2 steps back so you can kind of get a bit of space from the front so you don't bump into it. That's perfect. And you can just start bursting and strafing really slowly if you'd like.
okay. So I move my mouse here and then I just walk this way. Oh,
You can. If you wanted to keep it very simple, you can. The drill itself is basically you shoot 1 bot, you strafe, and then you shoot the next bot.
okay.
No, that's okay. You can do longer strafes if needed. And what might be useful as a cue is you actually might not want to stop. You don't want to stop until you're ready to shoot. So basically, like you might have heard this before, you want to keep moving until you're actually ready to stop. Okay, so
I think I'm still stopping too early.
that makes sense because you're trying to get your crosshair onto the target. I probably skipped a couple steps here. Let's actually jump into the arena really quickly. Just move forward and jump like spacebar into the closer to the bots. Yeah. And then actually just put your crosshair onto the bot's head. Don't shoot. And just like move around, but keep your crosshair onto the target. Yeah, just continuously move. Yeah, that's good. Just keep going, keep going. Don't stop, just keep going.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, perfect, perfect. Okay, so continuously move, strafe left, strafe right, go forward, go back. Just get used to keeping your crosshair on target no matter how you're moving.
That's
And
hard.
you've probably done a little bit of this with the...
Yeah, just a little.
So this skill is a little bit important to kind of understand how to keep your crosshair on target. So what you'll notice, let's just strafe to the left and right only for now. Notice how your crosshair is kind of jittering either in front of the target or behind the target.
Mm-hmm.
Then you kind of have to instinctively know when to stop. So notice how your crosshair every single time when you stop, you readjust onto the target. That's when you're ready to shoot. But until you're ready to shoot, you want to keep strafing and tracking the head.
Oh no.
No, that's good. That's good. Okay, so now that you've done this for a little bit, try to shoot the bot when you feel like you're ready to actually shoot it at the end of your strafe.
Like when I'm about to switch to the other side?
Yes.
Oops. Oh no.
No, that's good. You can shoot 2 bullets as well. We do call it 2-bullet bursting. No, that's good. That's good.
Okay, okay.
I guess maybe a quick question is, do you actually know how to burst?
No.
Okay. Let's take it one step back. So when we say 2-bullet burst, you actually don't shoot 2 bullets individually, you shoot them together. So you kind of hold the left click down really quickly so that it's only 2 bullets that come out of the gun barrel. So maybe practice that on the wall really quickly.
So before I have to start pulling down.
Correct. You don't even pull down at all. You just like let go of the mouse and just shoot 2 bullets. Or like, sorry, like pick up the mouse from the pad so you don't move it. And then just like click the mouse and then, yeah, 2 bullets exit. And you want to make sure that it's only 2 bullets. Yep, perfect. Yes. And that's what we call a burst.
Okay.
Just 2 bullets. So every time you stop, you're going to shoot a 2-bullet burst.
Oops.
It's okay. This is why we do this.
Okay, okay.
This is why we do this.
I keep doing 3.
It's okay if you do 3, honestly. It's not that big of a deal. Eventually, you do want to kind of you'll get a better feel for what 2 bullets feels like.
Oh no.
But this is kind of the basis of Valorant right now, is getting that movement and that shooting gunplay to kind of feel natural, and you're kind of going back and forth. I believe Path is using a G Pro wireless mouse, so solid mouse.
Oh no, I didn't stop in time.
That's okay. Just a question out of curiosity, it actually doesn't matter how you do it. Are you stopping by just letting go of the keys, or are you stopping by counter strafing?
I'm just switching to the other key.
Okay, so when you stop, just let go of your keys, or you can counter strafe, doesn't matter. But I don't want you to try to shoot in the... There's a technique called dead zoning, where when you're in a directional change, so you're going from left to right, you can actually shoot accurate bullets in that window. I don't actually want you to worry about dead zoning. I want you to just strafe, stop, shoot, strafe, stop, shoot. Instead of strafe, strafe, shoot. Or, yeah.
Oh. Oh.
No, that's good though. That is good. That is good.
Okay.
This actually looks good though. You take your time on it and then you'll get the burst down. This is a drill you'll do every day, or I guess every time before you play. It's more important that you get the mechanics training down first before you even load into the game.
Okay.
But this is good. Maybe we'll go back to the start really quickly and see if you can do it a bit quicker, because they're in closer field of view. So continue backing up slightly. Perfect. And then just kind of do what you did here, but from back here. That's good. Feel free to go back to your other crosshair, by the way, if you prefer that one. With this drill, the other one, the upper thing doesn't really matter.
I don't have
Oh, yeah, you
my
don't have
preferences
the,
in here.
I gotcha. No, it's okay. Don't worry about it. So one amendment I'll make is since there's 2 targets, this is kind of where we can start incorporating going to the next target. So after you kill this first target here, like say in the middle one, just go ahead and like in the back of your head, tell yourself that you're going to flick to the other target after you shoot.
Okay.
That's okay. No, that's good. And that's going to be your cadence. You're going to try to bounce between the 2 targets until we can kind of pick up some speed here. This is the pains of the new player experience. We've all been here. I was in here for CS. I spent like hundreds of hours in customs just shooting bots. I mean, I never really had to do it for Valorant because I started in CS, but for anyone in the chat that's new to TAC FPS, this is what it looked like. Okay, so those are the 2 drills that I only want you to focus on for now. We can add kind of some more specifics if we need to, and you feel like maybe it's better to actually work on some, like we could break down the drills a bit more basic if we needed to, like with the over aim, the under aim drill if we need to. My guess is that you won't have to. It might just take a bit more time here.
Okay.
But if you wanted to, that's something we could talk about. But those are your 2 drills in the range. Ideally, you'll do at least the range drills for 10 minutes, more if you'd like. And then the rest of your time will actually be into a deathmatch. So in deathmatch, all you're going to be doing is prioritizing. Oh, we have to talk about peaks. So that's what you'll be doing in deathmatch is peaks. So if you can kind of back out of the range, we'll hop into a custom, and we will talk about proper peaking technique.
Okay.
Actually, don't know the best map for this. Maybe Haven. Maybe Bind. Let's just do Bind because that's the map we saw. I'm gonna go on attackers here. You can pick. Let's see. Is there a better server for ping for you? Virginia might be the best, huh? Yeah, for sure.
Oops. I don't remember how to check it.
No, I'm cycling through it here. I can see it.
Okay.
Okay, so let's go ahead and load into the game. How are you feeling so far?
I'm feeling good.
Okay, you can pick any agent, doesn't matter.
Okay.
I am both shield and sword.
I'm gonna move your POV on the other screen here. Okay, so we're just gonna go through very basic peaks here. We're gonna go through basically just pre-aiming and wide swinging, and then wide swinging without a pre-aim. That's pretty much the 2 things we're gonna cover. And also,
now
yeah, we'll start there. We'll start there. Okay, I will meet you on A site somewhere. Do you have the ghost key bound? It doesn't matter.
No.
Okay, I'll fly over to you. Wait, okay, there you are. Okay. So, first, I want you to actually just look at your screen, and I want you to see the difference on me peeking with just an AD peek and how fast I move compared to a WA peek. Okay, so this is what a good peek looks like.
Okay.
It's pretty quick. This is what a bad peek looks like. You see how I'm WAing?
Mm-hmm.
Can you notice the difference?
You're going diagonally and
Yes.
a little slower.
I'm gonna pop quiz you. I'm gonna switch it up, and I want you to kind of tell me whether it's a AD peak or a diagonal peak. And for the sake of quickness, AD peak will be number 1. So I just want you to say 1, and then if I do a diagonal peak, I want you to say 2.
Okay.
Okay.
1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Wait.
You're right. You're right.
Okay. 1.
Okay, keep going. Okay.
2, 2, 1.
Okay, that was a 2. But you're
Oh.
right like 99% of the time, okay? So you can tell the difference. That is very important because you can kind of internalize it so that you know it's bad on the other point of view, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So
That helps a lot.
now we actually have to practice that. But the other thing I wanted you to see is we're going to do the 1 and 2 again, but we're going to do it for an AD peak and a rounding peak. Okay, so the only difference here, I'm actually holding A and D only here. There's no W involved, but it's
Okay.
where my crosshair is placed. And this one's actually going to be a lot harder to see. So maybe I'll start with chest peeking. So this is going to be 1. And then this is going to be 2. Can you tell
I
a
don't really
difference?
see a difference.
Okay. It might not make that much of a difference because we are not as close to each other. So maybe you come and stand here. Perfect. Then I'm going to do it now. Okay, so this is 1. And I'm going to do it maybe sprinting. So this is 1. Okay, and then this will be 2.
Okay. Can you do it again?
Yeah, so this is 1.
Okay, I can kind of see the body turning.
Yes.
Okay.
And that is a huge difference when you're playing. So if you can really quickly alt tab and look at my point of view, I want you to see the difference between 1 and 2 from my point of view. Okay.
Okay.
So this is going to be 1. Can you see?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is 1. Oh, simple pre-aim, peek. Pre-aim. I'm not even moving my mouse here. I can just peek out and insta-kill you with just movement alone. This is 2. This is what we were doing in our games. We're putting our crosshair on the edge and we're kind of peeking out like this.
Okay.
That's the difference. So this is 1. Most of your peaks in game should look like this. Pre-aim, peek, pre-aim, peek. In order to do this, you actually have to visualize the angles. If I'm peeking heaven here, I have to know that this is the angle. I'm going to peek out, pre-aim, peek. And also notice that these are in wide strafes. Like it's not this. It's not a very tiny peak. It's boom. You need that speed. Okay, that's important. Okay, so 1, 2. You can kind of mix it up where you're kind of going rounding like this, and then right before you go into the peak, you go into this, but that kind of gets more advanced.
Okay.
So now I kind of want to explore the nuance of, oh, actually we should do the 1 and 2 from your point of view, so you can kind of depict which is the difference. So we'll do that pop quiz again from your point of view.
Okay.
So I'll go back into the game.
All right.
And okay, you ready?
Yes.
Okay.
So wait, 1 is.
Sorry, this is 1. Yes.
Okay.
This is the 1 is pre-aim peak, and then 2 is the wider one here.
Okay.
Okay.
1.
Okay.
1. 1. 2.
That was also 1. That's fine. I'm changing the depth.
2.
Also 1.
Really?
It's a little bit,
Maybe I'm looking at the wrong thing.
That's okay. I'll start switching it up here. So what is this?
1.
Okay, that's also a 2. Maybe it. Okay, so here's my
I'm
assumption.
looking at the
actually.
body turning, but maybe that's not what I'm supposed to be looking at.
What should be making the difference is my pathing and how fast it looks. So when I do 1, my path is a straight line. I just go out. When I do it 2, my path is kind of more like an arc. Because this should make sense. If I strafe around you and I'm putting my crosshair on you at all times, or maybe you do it. You put your crosshair on me and you just hold A or D. You will naturally go around me in like a circle.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't move your mouse at all and you go left and right, you move into a straight line.
Yeah.
And if you're perpendicular to me right here, if you move in a straight line to the left, you will move faster than if you moved in a circle around me. That's kind of the premise here.
Yeah, okay.
Relative to me, I guess. It could be that it's just actually not that important. And you might be okay pre-aiming. Like you might be okay doing 1 or 2 in your games, and it doesn't give you that much of a disadvantage. But typically when you're in a game, you kind of want to minimize how much aim you actually have to do, which with the first technique, 1, in this case, pre-aiming and peeking, you can generally just get away with less mouse movements.
Okay.
So most of your time peeking in this game is going to be with technique 1, which is going to be pre-aiming, strafing out, and peeking. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so what we're gonna do now
I
is
just have to practice how to pre-aim because it's more difficult.
I was about to say, so we can actually do it on some more common angles. So let's go over here. I am going to stand here, and you will peek me from back here. It doesn't matter if you would rather be on this angle to peek out, or if you want to be on the closer one. I don't really care. But I'm gonna go and I'm gonna stand here, and I'm gonna now look at your point of view, and you will pre-aim and peek me.
Okay. So if I think you're here, but I don't want to move my mouse, so I don't know what to do.
No, yeah, so you put your crosshair where you think the angle will happen, but you don't move it. So you have to almost like visualize how your strafe will kind of come out.
Okay.
A good way to kind of get a feel for this is just go ahead and put your crosshair on. Yeah. Okay, and then just strafe back. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
It's a weird feeling because now you have to, I guess, understand what that angle is before you go into it. Like you have to visualize what that angle will be. So maybe we'll make it a little bit easier. Let me go into this corner here, and then you will pre and peek me from over there. Okay.
Okay. It's difficult.
It is,
Because
right?
I wanna move my mouse when I come out. Okay.
I guess this is where that over aim, under aim drill comes in some fashion, because it allows you to kind of sync your stop with your strafe a bit more.
Like that.
One way to kind of think about it is, how do you think about it? Like you do like one full step on your character, which I guess if you have audio on, you should be able to hear your character take one step. That's like the distance on when you stop. But you have to get really good, I guess, pre-aiming and stopping on the angle that you actually want to fight. So this really is the #1 thing in customs. You need to be able to pick an angle and stop. And that's good. Okay, so we are going to simulate angle clearing, and I want you to see how I do it first, and then we'll flip it over and you're going to try to mimic the run through.
Okay.
Okay, so can you see my game?
Yes.
Okay, hold on, let me move this. Okay, you can see my game?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're gonna start, the starting point will be here. And we're gonna start the round peeking here, and then walking up and peeking this. Okay, back up, 1, 2. 1, 2. And you can see I actually do a slight pause before I go into it, because I need time to prep myself. And if you want, you can add shooting if you want to, kind of just to speed it up. But this should be the movement. And I also just realized doing it myself, I am actually moving my mouse a little bit. The idea of pre-aiming doesn't have to be you don't move your mouse at all, I guess. It's just that your crosshair is in the wall, and when you strafe out, you're actually ready to stop. So
Okay.
you can actually move your mouse a little bit if you need to as you come out. But these are the 2 angles you're gonna clear. Okay, so now that you've seen it a couple times, download it into your brain. And then I'll have you do this.
Okay. So, oops.
Good. Keep going. Yep. We'll gain some fluidity the more we do it. You can see how it's like it does feel a little bit awkward at the start.
Okay.
Do you kind of can you see why it's useful though? That's the most important, to be honest.
Well, I guess it would be useful if they're already there. I'm predicting that they're already there.
Yes, and that's like 90% of your gun duels in this game.
Yeah.
You could put your clone so you can see through wall or sage clone. Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Hold on. I'm gonna go to your team. And I can't. I'll just stand there actually. You can pre-fire me through the wall. Okay. Now you can go back. You should be able to see me through the wall.
Yeah.
Okay, so that might be a little bit easier.
But I don't take it into I don't take it into account. Like I don't move my mouse toward it. Cuz this is what I was doing before, right? I think you're over here, so I would move my mouse this way.
Okay, so that's fine as long as your crosshair is in the wall to actually pre-aim. Because like, what you don't want to do. Can you see my screen really fast? Let me minimize this. Sorry. I'm gonna move your thing. Okay. Okay. What you don't want to do is clear the corner like this. You don't want to like go like this. This is like that 2 version. You want to have your crosshair in the wall. So it's okay if you do move your, like, you don't have to have your crosshair here all the time. Like into this far, you can move it here if you want. Like that is completely fine.
Okay.
You can peek this one like this. You can move your mouse, yeah. Like that is completely fine for sure. The idea is that like you're visualizing that fight on that angle and you're stopping. Like you're anticipating. So like if I'm gonna pre-aim bench here, that's the fight. If I'm gonna pre-aim left side, right side triple, that's the fight. Or I mean right side tank. Like this is how you clear the bomb site. So if I go all the way back here, I'll do it one by one. I'm doing heaven. I'm doing bottom site. I'm doing right side triple, and I'll do it even slower. Heaven, bottom site, right side triple, then pocket. Turn back around, U-haul angle, off angle U-haul, left side corner here, off angle U-haul, and this is how you will be approaching deathmatch. So it might make more sense for you to do it into a custom first, so you can really get this down, and then you're just getting all your fights down. Okay, so feel free to freeball it, but let's see it from your point of view. You can do any angles, I just want to see how it looks clearing the angles.
Okay. I guess my next question would be, how am I supposed to know which ones are the common angles?
Great
Just
question.
a lot of practice.
I mean, you will learn it intuitively, but generally, if there's any angle that there's cover around, that is going to be a common angle. Like you will rarely pre-aim something that's in the open.
Okay.
You will normally aim something that's next to cover.
Okay. So then back to this one.
Yes.
And then
if you want, you can keep going into sight if you'd like. Or just U-haul. You don't have to worry about the site yet.
Okay. This one would be here.
Sure. Yep.
Or here.
Yep. There's a lot of angles in U-haul, which is kind of hard. That's good. And then maybe even do it in reverse. So like now that you're in U-haul, go back and peek short.
Okay, so if I were like coming in this way?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, keep going.
Or here.
Yep.
And then...
Probably the close corner. Yeah. Close right. And then maybe on the left behind the box. Yep.
Okay.
and that is kind of why it's so important to play customs and to get familiar with the angles. And then it's also really important that you play a death match so you can kind of get those reps in and actually shoot against real players. But most of your time is going to be spent in that order. It's going to be the range, then it's going to be custom, and then it's going to be deathmatch, and then your rank games come at the very end.
Okay.
The rank games does not matter because that's just a way for you to get reps in on the things that you practice beforehand. So what are you practicing? You're practicing spraying, you're practicing bursting, you're going into a custom, you're practicing clearing angles with proper peeking technique. You're going into a deathmatch to practice peeking against real players, and then also that stuff you practice in the range, which would be bursting and spraying. And then in the rank game, it's kind of just like trying to tie it into a real game. But in ranked, you're actually only hunting for fights, and you're kind of pretending like it's deathmatch, but just with a really long death timer.
Okay.
And that's the steps that it takes to get to gold.
Okay, I can do it. I can do it.
Easy.
Easy.
I mean, easy. What might be useful throughout this upcoming week is for you to record the training itself and then send it to me, and I kind of give you like feedback on maybe things that if you're doing right or doing wrong, but just so that you don't feel completely alone on the training process.
Okay. Okay, that sounds good to me.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions?
I don't think so. I think it'll just be practice for this.
Yeah, it's just all practice. It's just all practice. Okay, so we won't actually have you boot into a deathmatch because you're on NA servers, and that's probably not even useful. So that's going to be the end of the custom stuff. The only thing I want to leave you with is just finishing out the bottom of this document in terms of the things that we haven't covered yet. So kind of going back here, mechanics training, as you can kind of already tell, is what we just talked about. So I'll recap it one more time. We are going to be, so currently we're only tapping or bursting, but I would like to see us develop spraying so you can simplify gun duels when needed, which is going to be practice in the range, spraying into the wall and controlling that cluster. And at some point you will level up spraying the bots and then transferring. We don't have to do that now. We are just spraying the wall. The second thing is training out bursting. So what we just did was breach ult the bots until there's only 2 in the center. And then you're just gonna kind of switch between them with a natural cadence, taking all the time you need until you're actually ready to shoot, okay? So that covers spraying, that covers bursting. Next up, we have to figure out how to peek. So at the moment, we're starting most of the fights by walking into it, sometimes just peeking, sometimes with good crosshair placement, sometimes not. So the way you would address this is go into a custom. Since there's 7 maps, but 2 of them are rotating out, I would say avoid the maps that are leaving, which is, I believe, actually the map we just did, I think is leaving soon. So chat, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the 2 maps that are leaving is Bind and Abyss. Is that right? In which case you might be good, like it's important for you to go into a custom and practice the other maps, like Fracture, like Haven, Lotus, Pearl, Split. But ideally you do a different map every single day that you play so that you can kind of get comfortable with all of the maps. Okay, so that's practice in a custom. Do this with proper strafes and speed. I did say trying to avoid making noise. That's something I actually didn't talk about. You can actually, can you hear my game audio right now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you can actually clear all the angles with a proper strafe without making noise. So this is what you can see. I can walk up on all these angles here and make 0 noise. You know, I'm still getting a proper strafe in. You see that? No noise at all. Now it's okay if you make a full step. So like if I strafe and clear this, I made a step. I made a step. Made a step. That's okay. If you make 1 step, that's okay. But what you don't want to do is you take, like it takes 2 steps to get into the angle. Because that's not really realistic in how you would play, like peek in a real game. You would at most take 1 step out. And if you, like I said, if it ends up being an audio cue, that's also okay. You still have enough speed. So that is fine. But you ideally limit it to 1 step at most. And if you wanted to and get really good at it, you would try to make sure that you don't make any sound at all when you actually peek into it. So you can run up to the angle if you want and then try to make it silent. but honestly, it is a little bit hard sometimes.
Okay.
But just know that you can technically walk around the map, like shift walk, get to a close angle, and then you can kind of peek it to clear it without making noise. That is possible. Notice how like I'm just walking up to these, but I'm pre-aiming right before I get into it.
Yeah.
So custom every single day on a different map, just kind of walking around them. It doesn't really matter where you pick, like you can just float around the map, and like let's say you're doing showers, you can do it from here too. Just like getting used to the map. And then there's a corner here, so I'm going to walk up and clear this. There's also a corner here, so I'm going to walk up and pre-aim and clear that. There's a corner here, so I'm going to pre-aim peek. Another corner here, pre-aim peek. Walk, walk, walk. I'm about to get to the site. Boom. There's another corner here. And you're kind of just going to go here. And take all the time you need if you mess up. Like let's say like you pre-aim this and then you're kind of messed up. You can kind of back up a little bit more and then try again. That's okay. You just have to get familiar with the maps and the angles. Maps and angles. The angles are so important. That's why it's also really difficult to play a new map, because you don't know the angles, so you don't know what to peek properly. And then after your custom practice, we're just gonna load in some deathmatch. Supplement with deathmatch practice after. Just run around. You're gonna focus on your gunfights and making sure that you know, your crosshair placement is somewhat prepared. Your peaks are somewhat good, but it's gonna try to hopefully tie it in all together. It's gonna be pretty overwhelming, but you know, intentional practice, eventually you'll be able to kind of run around deathmatch and be pretty good at it.
Okay.
And then after all of the mechanics training, so the routine I have here is set a timer for 30 minutes, go in the range for 10 minutes, maybe I'll actually add custom for 10 minutes, and then deathmatch for 10 minutes. You're gonna be doing this, so timer, you go in the range for 10 minutes, feel it out, you look back at the timer, 20 minutes is left, go into a custom, walk around the map for 10 minutes. It's actually kind of boring, so maybe we'll do 5, and then deathmatch for 15. That's probably a better split. Custom for 5 minutes, just walk around the map, get familiar with the angles, try to practice that peeking technique. Afterwards, you're gonna go into a deathmatch, run around like an idiot, have your crosshair placement, try to practice proper peeks. When you actually are in the gun duel, you're gonna try to get that bursting and that spraying in and just have a good feel for it. And then after all of that, you're gonna play your rank games. I'm proposing 3 rank games. If you don't have time for 3, play 2. In between your rank games, you play 1, and then you're just gonna play 1 deathmatch in between each rank game to kind of re-shift your focus back to the mechanics.
Okay.
Okay.
That sounds good. And then, well, just for a little context for chat, because you did give me Valen's warm-up routine, and I've only done that twice before ranked games, but I already felt like a huge difference. So especially if I just go into another ranked game immediately after, I'm like, oh wait, I'm already like out of it. So I think that having the deathmatch in between will be super helpful too.
Easy. And if there are some drills that you like in the Valen warm-up, feel free to kind of sprinkle them into the range. The range is really just like a feel out place. Like you can do a bunch of different drills you want. But to me right now, I think the most important ones were just being able to incorporate some of the tools, like the basic shooting mechanics, which is spraying and bursting.
All right. Sounds good to me.
Easy. If you have questions throughout the week, hit me up. Like I said, record the mechanics and stuff like that. Obviously record your rank games, and I'll be checking in to see that as well. But I guess questions, comments, concerns before I let you go?
I don't think so. Thank you so much for your time.
No, likewise. And hopefully you're excited. One thing I didn't mention was agent pick.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't matter what you play. If I'm being like, the traditional advice is you just pick Reyna, because you don't have to worry about your utility at all. But I honestly don't care what you pick, as long as you're taking your fights, not running away from them.
Okay.
So fill it out. You can play whatever you want.
Sounds good to me.
Easy. And we'll meet back up next Monday. And of course, if you have questions, just hit me up again.
Yep. Thank you so much.
Likewise. And good luck.
Thank you.
All right, I am gonna hop out of here, and I guess I'll just hop out of the Discord first.
Okay.
All right, see ya.
Bye. I don't know how to. Oh. Oh man. How do I close out of this? Okay. Chat, I'm nervous. Chat, I'm nervous. I guess I'll just end stream here. It was a little hectic because this was our first one. But how did we feel? That was Adam Dopai helping me on my path to gold. I think I said at the beginning of the year I want to get us to gold by the end of the year. He thinks that we can go in a month, which I'm terrified about. But if he has faith, then I have faith as well. So we'll see. Very possible. Very informative. Very possible. We're not going to practice a couple games. Unfortunately, I have a meeting that I have to go to in about 4 minutes. 100% you can do it in a month. Okay. Okay. It's just really high expectations. There's already someone in Discord willing to shave their head if you hit gold this month. Who? That's crazy. Anyway, thank you for stopping by. Like I said, I have to go to a meeting. Skip the meeting for Valo. I'm gonna be doing all of this practice immediately after, but off stream. So if you are interested in watching, so the 2 VODs that we sort of walked through during stream today is on the Squidbeak channel, YouTube channel, and then yeah, I don't know what else to say about that. Oh my gosh, Ace Kamisato, thank you for gifting. I really appreciate it. Wow, thank you so much. Hope you're doing well. Okay, we're not gonna raid or anything because I really gotta go to my meeting. So thank you for stopping by. Hope you're having a good morning, evening, night, whatever it is, wherever you are. I hope you have a good one. And I will see you on Wednesday for more Cyberpunk. Okay. Bye. I don't have music queued up either, so wait, I might. Really fast. Okay, bye.
Rewind to before I changed, started acting strange, had my life in my own hands. Meanwhile, I was wasting time, thinking things were fine, but you had other plans. Behind your weak disguise, all the worthless lies, I was wrong and now I know. Don't think that I won't try, this is not goodbye. found, but I didn't realize. Like a giant standing in my way, leading me astray. Now it's time for me to rise. I knew I had to find myself. Turns out I'm on my own. I won't let it go. The fire won't let you pretend to know. The fire in my heart burns in your shadow. The silver lining can begin to rust, and I cannot trust. I won't let it go.
So forgot to thank Sailord and Blackjack21 and Avika the Honors Friend and Darren Draken for the primes and subscriptions. I appreciate it. Okay, bye!